here I have a shelf, and on this shelf there are some animals, and some of those animals are geckos, and now one of those geckos would be an African fat-tailed gecko that hasn't really been on my channel before, but I've had for like 6 months now. Anyways, meet Fern. Was Fern, and Fern is my whiteout Oreo African fat-tailed gecko. So now I got Fern back in October or November of the fall. I don't remember exactly when, but it was somewhere around there. So I've had Fern for about 6 months now. However, Fern hasn't really been on my YouTube channel. She was in one video featured very briefly, but that's really the only appearance she's ever made on here before. And today, this video is all about her. So as I mentioned, Fern is a whiteout Oreo African fat-tailed gecko, which is a morph of fat-tailed gecko that I've wanted for a really long time. Back in the fall, I was browsing Kijiji and I happened to find someone rehoming Fern, and I was so quick to jump on the opportunity because this was a gecko I had been looking for a while. I had gone to reptile expos to look for this morph, didn't have any luck, happened to find one for rehoming, so I was super excited about that. So I went and I got Fern. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna talk a little bit about Fern, and then we're going to get into the enclosure setup portion of the video, which I will also explain as I'm talking about Fern, why we're doing this now and everything. So this will make more sense hopefully in a few minutes. So shortly after getting Fern, I could definitely tell that there was something a little bit different about her compared to other African fat-tailed geckos. The most noticeable thing physically is probably her size. Fern is very stunted. I assume that this would be a result of her previous owners not feeding her correctly, but Fern is approximately 2 years old and she is very small for an African fat-tailed gecko, so that is the most noticeable thing that is a bit different about her. However, there is another thing as well, because Fern actually does have a neurological issue. Now this neurological issue doesn't seem to affect her too much, but it definitely does impact her life in some aspects. Typically this neurological condition only shows itself when she's really stressed out, such as if she is being handled. So I always keep handling to a minimum for her because she stresses out really easily because of it, and then it triggers her neurological issues. Sometimes you can see it when she's hunting as well, but it does not really affect her hunting skills too much. So even though Fern's neurological issues don't seem to impact her life too much, they definitely do impact it a little bit, and because of that I was typically having to care for her a bit differently than I would normally care for an African fat-tailed gecko. I had her in a much more minimalistic setup because I found she did really well in that enclosure. However, I decided I want to try something new. So Fern has been doing really well in her minimalistic setup for the past 6 months, and just because she's doing well in that doesn't mean she wouldn't do well in something more naturalistic. Now it's not a guarantee, she might not do well in something more naturalistic. However, I decided I wanted to give it a try and see how it works out. If it doesn't work out, I'll switch her back. It's not a problem. And if it does work out, then awesome, because she will have a cooler cage if so. So with all that said, I'm gonna stop rambling here and we can get into the cage portion of the video. So what we'll do now is I am going to shut up. We are going to go ahead and we are going to take a look at Fern's current enclosure, and then we're gonna give it a makeover. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so here is the final product of Fern's enclosure. So this is nothing too extreme or anything, and it's not a bioactive setup. However, like I mentioned, I don't know how she's going to do in a setup like this. You know, I don't want to go super overboard just for the time being, because who knows if she will even continue to do well in this. We don't know, but we're gonna give it a try. But just for a quick little tour to show you guys what is all going on here. Right back here we have this rock hide with that fake fern on it. And by the way, the back side of the enclosure is the warm side, so there is under the tank heating right there, and it is hooked up to a thermostat. So there is that rock hide there with that fern. There is a piece of wood here, and over here I took some pieces of cork and kind of made a hide out of it so she can hide under there. And then we do have this fake plant on top of it. Then over here there is another piece of wood which she is currently hiding out underneath. And then we have this hide right here, so this would be like the cool hide because this is on the cool side of the enclosure with this fake plant on top of it, another piece of wood here, and then we have her water dish. So yeah, this is what we are going to be trying out with Fern. I'm really excited to see how she does in this enclosure, and hopefully she does really well. And there you go, there is the finished enclosure. So I really am hoping that Fern will do well in this enclosure. It would be awesome to see her thrive in a more naturalistic setup. Obviously this enclosure isn't bioactive or anything, but it is more naturalistic than obviously her previous paper towel setup was. So I'm really excited to see how she does in this. And as I mentioned before, if she doesn't do well, then I'll just switch her back, no problem. That's not an issue with me. But with all this said, I feel like this is probably a good time to go ahead and end the video. I hope that you guys enjoyed finally getting a formal introduction to Fern, and I hope that you guys enjoyed seeing me set up her new enclosure. As I've said before, I'm really excited to see how she does in this, and I really do hope she does well. I will hopefully keep you guys updated and see if anything changes or if things stay the same. So yeah, if you guys want to see any updates on Fern, make sure you are following this channel or else you probably will miss them. All of that said, I'm gonna go ahead and I will end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It means a ton to me and I would appreciate it a lot. All of that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. Thank you all for watching, and I will hopefully see you all in my next video.